Hello fellow followers, so we're starting our new series of videos that is all about speaking Christian, and today I want to talk to you about God. So here's the thing, what do you picture, what do you see when you hear the word God? I'm assuming most of you don't have the picture of some white guy in the sky with a long beard, but what do you have? When you say the word God, what kind of being do you think we're talking about? Even if you don't believe in God, what kind of image does the word God put in your head? Because I think for most of us, we have this idea of a being that is out there somewhere, and he created the universe. So the relationship between God and creation is a bit like the relationship between an artist and his painting. The artist isn't the painting, he's separate from the painting, he's created the painting, and the painting is out there somewhere separate from the artist. Or God is like a carpenter that has made a table, with the creation being the table. He's separate from his creation, from his table. Or like Steve Jobs and the iPad. Steve Jobs isn't an iPad, the iPad is separate from him, but he's the creator of it. And so we see God as this being that is separate from his creation. This causes all sorts of interesting questions. What, if that is the relationship between God and the creation, then what do we understand by prayer? Because presumably it means that God is a being outside that has to come into the creation. So is that like when a painting has been defaced and the artist has to touch it up? So the artist comes in from outside and does a touch up on the painting, right? Or is it like the carpenter and the table has been damaged and he has to come in and he has to fix the table, but he is outside interfering into the system, coming from outside into the system in order to fix it. Or like a computer technician, where the computer is broken and he comes and he fixes the computer. And this, I think, is the idea we have of when God answers prayers, that God is somehow outside of the system and he comes into the system. And there are indeed a whole bunch of verses in the Bible that give this impression. So I'm going to give you some verses and I'd like to ask you the question: where is God in these verses? If we have this understanding of God is outside the system coming in, where is God in these verses? So Genesis 11:1-5, but the Lord came down to see the city. 2 Kings 2:11, Elijah went up into heaven. Psalm 68:4, sing praise to God, sing praise to his name, exalt him who rides on the clouds. Or Psalm 104:3, he, that's God, makes the clouds his chariot and rides on the wings of the wind. Or John 3:30, no one has ever gone into heaven except the one who has come from heaven, the Son of Man. Or John 3:17, for God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world through him. God did not send his Son into the world. So where is God in all of these? In all of them, right? God is up somewhere. He is up in heaven and he comes down into the world in order to save things. This was actually the dominant understanding of God throughout ancient culture, because of course the things that we need to live, the sun, the rain, they come from up. And then bad things, when you die, for example, or when the leaves fall from the trees and die, they go down into the soil. And so they developed this understanding that the God or gods were up, and then the bad things, they were down, and we were somehow in the middle, and we hopefully wanted to go up and not down. Here's the trouble, you see, with this view of God, okay? We invented aeroplanes, and we flew up, and we discovered that God wasn't riding on the clouds. And then we walked on the moon, and God wasn't there. And we had telescopes that could help us to see into the farthest distances of the universe. God wasn't there. And we sent out Hubble space telescopes and God wasn't there. And so this God that was supposed to be up, he got further and further and further away. When we didn't have this stuff, the clouds weren't that far away. It felt that God was still quite close, but now we've pushed God further and further and further away. And so the question is, what is his relevance? Is he even here? What is the point? Here's the thing. This is not the dominant image of God in the Bible. Let me read you some more verses, and this time I want to ask you again, where is God in these verses? So, Acts 17:28. For in him, that's God, for in him we live and move and have our being. Colossians 1:17. He, that's God, is before all things, and in him all things hold together. Ephesians 4:6. One God and Father of all, who is over all, and through all, and in all. Or Psalm 139, 7-10. Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast. Notice that three-tiered view of the universe again. If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. But he's saying God is in all of these places. Then notice these verses. How does God work in the world? Does he come from outside and intervene? How does he work? Okay, Hebrews 1:3. God sustains all things by his powerful word. Or Psalm 135 verse 7. He, that's God, makes the clouds rise from the ends of the earth. He sends lightning with the rain and brings out the wind from his storehouses. Or Matthew chapter 10 verse 29-30. Are not two sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them will fall to the ground outside your Father's care, and even the very hairs on your head are all numbered. Or Job 33:4. The Spirit of God made me, the breath of the Almighty gives me life. The breath of the Almighty gives me life. Acts 17:25. He, that's God, he himself gives everyone life and breath and everything else. He gives everyone life and breath and everything else. 1 Corinthians 8:6. Yet for us there is but one God, the Father, from whom all things came and for whom we live. And there is one Lord, Jesus Christ, through whom all things came and through whom we live. Notice how this language works, and forgive the large number of verses, but it's important we get this. God is not a distant being somewhere separate from the universe. He is the one in whom we live and breathe and have our being. He is the one who gives us life and breath and everything else. He is the one in whom we live. He is the one through whom we live. To use a very simple analogy, a fish is in water in the same way that we are in God. A fish lives in water, it breathes in water, it moves in water, it can't get out of water. In the same way, God is all around us. We live and move and have our being in God. This is how the Bible scholar Marcus Borg puts it. God is not a being separate from the universe, but a sacred presence all around us. The word does not refer to a being, a super being, or a personal being separate from the universe, but to a reality in whom everything exists. This is what he says later on. And here he's talking about the debates that happen between Christians and atheists, and he's saying they're arguing about the wrong thing. He says the question is about the nature of reality, of what is. Is what is simply the space-time world of matter and energy? Or is reality, isness, more than that? The word God affirms that reality, what is ultimately a sacred reality, or more, all around us, wondrous and glorious. Yes, God is not a being separate from the universe. He is the spiritual dimension all around us. He sustains all things by his powerful word. He's the one in whom we live and breathe and have our being. He is the more that is all around us. This understanding affirms all that we can know from science and fact and data, but it says there is more than that there is a spiritual reality all around us all the time, and this spirituality is God. This spiritual dimension is God. Now, please be aware of what I'm not saying. I'm not saying that the word God is some sort of poetic language for the universe. No, God is more than the universe, even while he is all through the universe. To use the theological terms, he is both transcendent, more than the universe, but he is also immanent. He is the one in whom we live and breathe and have our being. More than that, I'm not saying that God is some sort of impersonal force, like the Force from Star Wars. No, God is personal, he is relational, we can have relationship with him. What I am saying is that God is the sacred reality, the spiritual layer, the divine rhythm that maintains and sustains everything. God is the sacred reality, the spiritual layer, the divine rhythm that maintains and sustains everything. This changes everything about how we understand things. God does not relate to the creation like an artist relating to his painting. That suggests his separation. No, he's more like the relationship between a violin and the music. If the violin disappears, the music disappears. If God disappears, all creation disappears. He is the one who sustains it. And even that isn't quite a perfect picture because the violin is separate from the music. But it's closer than the idea of artist and painting. God is like the violin and we are the music. The whole universe are the different notes. And it means that God is in it. Or more particularly, that God isn't separate at all. It's like God is the whole music and we're the individual notes. He is the tune. I speak to some people and they talk about, this was happening and we were at this prayer meeting and then God turned up. Where do you think he was until that moment? How can God turn up? He's always there. That's the point. God cannot turn up. He doesn't wait out in the porch until the right music plays. God is always there. He's like a background music that is always with us if we just stop long enough to notice. It is like a rhythm. God's presence always around us, and we tune it out, just like we tune our background music. But if we just pause long enough, we will find that he was there all along. And this is actually the job of the Christian. Not to cram more and more Bible references and correct doctrine into our head, although that's important. It's about learning to dance to the sacred rhythm, the spiritual reality, the divine presence that is all around us, all the time. And so I pray, fellow followers, that you would know the God who is with you every moment of every day. God bless, fellow followers.